the final information, everything that we needed for the September meeting. We came to a brief presentation, and the results were all good. We talked about the fund balance level for each of the funds, and just positive audit results based on circumstances. It's great. Like as far as we were concerned, nothing really changed from our audit perspective. We had a lot of things uploaded ahead of time, in share file portal. So thank you, Charmaine, and everybody else who helped with that. And the audit just moved forward as usual. And so we'll give you a month to send any comments, questions. I didn't receive any that I know of, but I apologize if I missed any. I was going to respond and copy everybody that. To my knowledge, I didn't receive any questions or comments. We did get the okay to go ahead and produce final signed copies, and I have delivered those tonight. So there's a copy for all the board members. It's the same, basically the same items that you're used to seeing. There's a required communication, main audit report, management comment letter that had a couple of comments that we had in the prior year that were resolved. And then there's also an audit on justice support. So everything's clean, unmodified, clean. Any modifications are departures from generally accepted accounting principles. So I didn't really have a presentation to go through the financial information again, just a quick recap like that. And I guess just if you had a chance to look at it and
well,
have any questions.
Why don't we do this then, Patrick? Why don't we just go, I'll ask the town board in alphabetical order if they have any questions for you, and then we'll go from there, okay? So I think the first one would be, you have any questions for him? No. Okay. Bronwyn, do you have any questions for Mr. Jordan?
I do not.
Okay. Doug?
I have none either.
Okay. Joe?
I just want to make sure that the only changes he made from the first draft were correcting those couple of typographical errors.
There were no changes in the main financial statements or the tables in the charts in the management discussion and analysis. We did catch a couple of other things that weren't updated. So now all of the numbers that you would see in the narrative and paragraphs of the MD&A match the tables. And the tables were correct as presented. So there are maybe 3 or 4 items that hadn't got updated or somehow lost the links and corrected those. So everything's good there. Nothing else changed with the financial figures.
Thank you.
That's sufficient, Joe? You okay with
Yep.
that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have no questions at this time. I think our exam, the financial exam looked good. If we were a human, we'd be healthy. Perfect. That's always good news. And thank you again in the past for giving us constructive criticism of what we should be doing. And I think we're in good shape. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Drive safe. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing to consider special use permit application at 1004 Auburn Road.
I will move that.
There's a second? This is actually to open up the public hearing, right?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, and we are at 6:37.
Yeah.
So I got Andra making the motion, Joe seconding it.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Can you tell if they're, I don't hear anybody saying anything.
thumbs up?
Aye.
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 Aye, okay, we have 5 ayes.
Anybody opposed? I
So
don't-
we'll keep the public hearing open.
For 1 minute, yeah.
There are 6 people in the waiting room. I'm not sure what matters they're here to speak about, but would you like me to admit them?
Is it about the privilege of the floor or is it about the, I guess we'll find out, CJ.
Okay, all right. Coming up is Ben.
Okay. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Is this about Savage Club?
I'm sorry.
Is this about, we have an open hearing right now for the Savage Club application. Is that what this is about for you?
No, I was here for privilege of the floor about the Dollar General. I wasn't totally clear if that was on the agenda for tonight or not.
No worries, my friend. Privilege of the floor is right after this. Okay, so we'll get back to you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, CJ, who's the next one?
Next, we have Paul Rossi.
Okay, Paul Rossi. Are you here about the Savage Club or privilege of the floor?
He's just joining now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Don't repeat that.
Hello, Mr. Rossi, are you there?
Yes,
Are you here for the Savage Club for the public hearing or for something else?
just for the whole legislative meeting, the town council meeting.
Okay, fine, thank you. So you're not here for any privilege of the floor or any comments?
No, sir.
Okay, well, thank you for attending.
You bet.
You should go to YouTube, or doesn't it?
Yeah. CJ, who's next?
Next, we have Diane.
Diane. Hello, Diane. Diane, can you hear us?
Okay, I'm here.
Hi. Is this about the Savage Club or is this about another item or are you just here to observe the meeting? Are you here to talk about the privilege of the floor? Diane?
Hi, I'm trying to figure out where my thing is. Am I still with you?
You are now. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I lost my video with you.
No worries.
I'm here for privilege of the floor also for Dollar General.
Okay, let's just hold that for a moment because privilege of the floor will be coming up momentarily, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else do you have, CJ?
Okay, we also have Sarah Lansbury.
Hello, Sarah. Sarah, can you hear us? Hello, Sarah, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi. Are you here for privilege of the floor or for?
No, I'm just here listening. So you can mute me.
We will mute
Or
you.
I can mute myself.
No worries. You'll be muted, but you'll be here in spirit. Okay. Who else do you have, CJ?
Okay, Tom Butler.
Hi, Tom. Tom?
Hi there.
Hi. Are you here for privilege of the floor?
No, I just wanted to see the meeting.
Well, it's always good to see you. So we'll move up forward then, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Who else do we have, CJ?
We also have Maureen Carroll.
Maureen Carroll, hello.
Oh, hold on just a moment.
Hello, Maureen Carroll. Maureen, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi. Are you here for privilege of the floor or for another item?
Excuse me?
Are you here for privilege of the floor for another item or are you here just to observe?
I'm just here to observe. I'm
Outstanding.
particularly interested in the segment on Bell Station, the Bell Station property.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
So it looks like we're going to have two people for privilege of the floor unless someone else wants to
I
chime
think
in.
there's a gentleman right here.
Okay, but we still have the public hearing open.
Right.
So I think we've got enough time.
Okay, we just have,
Just see if she have more.
there's just one more, iPad 055611.
iPad, can you hear us?
They're being admitted. Hold on just a moment. Yep, here's iPad.
Hello, can you hear us? We have an iPad in the waiting room. And CJ has opened you up. Can you hear us?
Yes,
Hi, are you here for privilege of the floor to observe or something else?
are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, I just observing.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending. CJ, is there anyone else?
That is it.
Okay. So it looks like we have no comments at this time for the public hearing for the special use permit and application at 1004 Auburn Road, which is, I believe, the Savage Club, right, CJ?
That's correct.
Okay. So is there a motion to?
I move to close. the
Andra,
I'll second.
Doug seconds. That's at 6:47 maybe?
6:44.
Oh, you're right, 6:44. The clock is wrong.
Change it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody, I can't hear. So, anybody opposed? Okay.
Moving on. This will be the agenda number 6. Looks like privilege of the floor. We have, I think, Mike, are you here for privilege of the floor? Yeah. Okay, why don't we start with you then?
Okay, so I think this gentleman right here is signed up first. He did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Just give us a moment, please.
No problem.
Okay, I'm gonna mispronounce your last name, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna say that Nathaniel.
Yep.
Last name is Launer. Okay. Okay, so please share us your thoughts and concerns.
Thank you. So my name is Nathaniel Launer. I'm the outreach coordinator at the Community Science Institute. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and for your consideration for our request for support of our organization. Since 2006, CSI has partnered with volunteers from the Lansing community to monitor water quality. Together with their care and dedication, we have coordinated over 52 monitoring events, collecting over 4,300 measurements of water quality from 10 locations on Salmon Creek and 8 locations on the shoreline of Salt Point and Myers Park. All of this data can be found in our public water quality database, which now holds over 60,000 regulatory quality measurements of water quality from 18 subwatersheds across the Key Lake watershed. This online database is an invaluable tool for citizens concerned about water quality, for local governments and their strategic planning, and for local water resource managers. The data these volunteers have collected over a decade revealed not only where water quality is impacted, but also where it is good, shedding light on some of our most pressing water quality issues, including the question of lakeshore pollution from nearshore septic systems, the risk of harmful algal blooms, and the sediment and nutrient runoff in Salmon Creek. By partnering with these volunteers, CSI engages the community in the scientific process, empowering them with the tools and knowledge to act as stewards of their water resources. And in addition, through our monitoring model, we're able to collect this data at roughly 1/3 to half the cost of monitoring programs of similar scope and scientific rigor. Now, the care and dedication of our volunteers really fully reflects the Lansing community and their care for our water resources. In the Town of Lansing 2018 Comprehensive Plan, it states that, quote, the preservation of our lake and the water that nourishes it is vital to our community's long-term viability. For over 2 decades, our mission to protect water has been made possible through the support of local governments and through the generosity, care, and dedication of our volunteers. As an essential organization, CSI has remained hard at work during these unprecedented times, continuing to provide the civic services of potable water testing, education, and environmental protection. I hope that you can consider supporting CSI and supporting our volunteers in the Lansing community. By fulfilling our $7,000 request, the town of Lansing can become regional leaders in watershed protection and help to ensure that we may continue to protect our streams and the health of Cayuga Lake now and in the future. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And I've also got copies of our annual reports as well as the proposal submitted to the town of Lansing about 2 weeks prior.
Okay, so privilege of the floor, there really isn't any back and forth. Only I can say is I reached out to Robert Reiger. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am familiar.
Okay, so hopefully you'll have a pleasant surprise time. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Bye. Mike Stickler.
Hey, everyone. So my name's Mike Sigler. I live at 218 Peruval Road, and I'm just here as a private citizen for this part. I'm just here about the solar projects that are coming up in Lansing. And I want to thank a bunch of people. I've started this petition. In the petition, I'm not calling for a moratorium or a ban or anything like that. I'm just calling for some regulations, putting that out there for hopefully the planning board to consider. I have to say, I think they are considering some of those things. I don't know what's going to come out of the planning board yet. But I want to thank some of the town board members who have expressed.
Mike, can you speak more closely to the mic? I'm having trouble hearing some of the words. Thank you.
Sure. I want to thank the town board members too, who I've talked to, have said, what comes out of town, the planning board, they'll consider. So I want to thank everybody around about this. My main concern, really, not my main concern, but one of my major concerns is in this time of COVID, it just, these virtual meetings and things, while you would think it would be easier to get information, I don't find that to be the case. So, I'm going around door to door, and that's actually working pretty well with the petition anyway. I mean, in there, for example, I just call for increased setbacks, right, from any kind of solar array that's going to go in. Because again, these are large solar, we're talking 1,300 acres. I'm calling for things like that, larger setbacks. And the people I'm talking to who would be most affected by this really know nothing about it. And they're thanking me for saying, hey, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We really didn't know anything about it. And that's the question I have really of the town board maybe is how much do we really know? I looked at the two proposals that came forward here that were looking for letters of support. And the one, S-Power, I mean, heck, they had a public meeting. We knew who we were working with there, and they had pretty well-defined what they were looking at land-wise and where they were going to try to build these things. And then there was CS Power, and nothing against them. I just never heard of them. I mean, I had met with them on my porch, but I had to instigate that, and I had to make that happen. But it's a company that hasn't done business in Lansing before. None of the players really have done business here. And if you were to say, well, what do you know about CS Power? I don't know if anybody really knows that, hey, they're a multinational company. They have assets. Their major shareholder is Ares Management. They have about $13 billion worth of assets. I mean, we're talking about a major player here in power production. So, I read the letter that they had asked Groton to sign. Groton actually had turned that down. Again, this was the first they had seen it. So I want our town to be careful when it comes to things like this. And I hope we are, and I hope we do our due diligence. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So CJ, are you with me?
I'm here.
Can you bring Ben back in for privilege of the floor? I think he wanted to make some comments also.
Okay, yep. We have Ben, Paul, and Diane. So hold just a moment for Ben.
Ben, Paul. I thought Paul was observing. That's okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, there's a switching back and forth between YouTube and Zoom. There's a slight delay in the audio. So if you said anything in like the last 20 seconds, I might have missed it.
So Ben, we need your name, your address, please.
Okay, Ben Finio, 74 Sharpstein Road, Lansing.
And how do you spell your last name? It's kind of mumbled here with our transmission.
I'm sorry, Ben Finio, 74 Sharpstein Road.
Right, I just need a spelling of your last name, Ben.
Oh, sorry, Finio, F as in Frank, I-N-I-O.
I-N-A-O?
I-O.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I'm here to follow up on comments about the Dollar General from the planning meeting a couple weeks ago. My takeaway from that meeting was really that nearby residents can complain about sound and noise and light and traffic and everything all we want, but ultimately it's an allowed use according to zoning, so those things won't necessarily stop the project. What I am hoping the board will consider is what other municipalities across the country have started considering with these stores is some sort of legislation to ban them from opening new locations within a certain distance of existing ones because of their effect on local economies and small independent grocery stores like Lansing Market. I don't think anyone's really disputing that. They've opened, I think, hundreds of new locations across the country in the last few years. Their business model is to expand into small towns and rural areas very aggressively to compete with Walmart. So rather than driving 30 minutes into town to get to a Walmart, you drive 5 or 10 minutes to get to a Dollar General. And that can have the effect of creating a food desert where people don't have access to local produce or fresh local products anymore. So again, other cities have enacted legislation to start banning them from doing so. I also wanted to point out that I think our opposition to this has managed to attract the attention of their corporate headquarters. There was a woman who wrote an op-ed in the Lansing Star who did not really identify herself, but if you Google her, you will see that she is the director of public relations at their corporate headquarters. So, they'll say things like, oh, we care about the community, and create jobs and yada, yada, but it's literally her job to make Dollar General look good. She's their PR director. And I'm sure, she kind of writes dozens or hundreds of letters like that whenever they open a new store and there's local opposition to it. So I'd encourage people to kind of be careful to read and take it with a grain of salt if you start seeing things about, how they want to do good in the community, because, their goal is to make as much money as possible. They don't care if Lansing Market goes out of business. So I take that with a grain of salt. And again, I know the town's legal options may be limited, but I'm hoping with a comprehensive plan and the idea that rural agricultural land should actually be cultural and not just kind of anything goes, that we'll be able to do something. And finally, I'll throw in that hopefully this isn't a divisive political issue. I'm up on Sharpstein Road. We have Trump flags and Biden flags on this road, and nobody I've spoken to on this road wants that store there. So given the national political climate at the moment, hopefully it's something local that we can all agree on. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
CJ, on Diane.
Okay.
One.
Nope, you're okay, Ben. So this would be Diane. Hello, Diane, can you hear us? Hi, Diane. I wonder if she's muted. Nope. Diane, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yes, it's Nangioni, right?
Yes, Nangeroni, Nangeroni.
And what's your address, please?
135 Storm Road, Groton.
All right, thank you. So go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for listening to me tonight. Many of you have already heard me at the town zoning, so I'm not really sure I'm going to say much else that I said back then, but I'm again here to express my opposition to that planned second Lansing Dollar General store, which would be on Auburn Road, not Boulevard, in the town of Lansing as opposed to Lock, which is its zip code. Just my little dig at that letter that Ben mentioned. Neither the owner of the proposed building nor the Dollar General business are local. I believe they're both based in Tennessee. And this bothers me because for the past, 8 to 10 years, Lansing has been working to create a town center. A store 6 miles from the town hall is not very center to me. However, the Dollar General, that's only a mile or two away on Ford Drive, is. It seems counterintuitive to want to create a town center only to encourage people to stay away from it. Small scale, locally owned businesses create communities that are more prosperous, connected, and generally better off. Local businesses recirculate a greater share of every dollar to the local economy and not send it to another state. Local businesses generate greater investment back into their local area, saying about $68 per 100 compared to $43 from national chains. Dollar General has or will soon be operating businesses very close to Lansing in Union Springs, Moravia, Dryden, Groton, in addition to the one that they already have here in Lansing. In my opinion, another store is not needed. I ask you to consider placing limits on the number or percentage of formula retail establishments via zoning or other amendments to provide a path to preserve our small town and our agriculture environment. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. The third one, CJ, you mentioned was Paul? Am I-
Yes.
Paul was-
I'm not sure that he's here to speak, but there's also, okay, well, I'll just admit him and then we can go from there.
Hello, Paul.
Hello?
Hi. Chauncey, are you here just to observe or do you want to use privilege of the floor?
No, just to observe. Thank you.
Okay, CJ, we got our answer. Anyone else from privilege of the floor?
Okay, well, I'll just admit him and then we can. No one else for privilege of the floor.
Hey. CJ said something about putting everybody in the waiting room. That's not heard, right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
The meeting is being broadcast on YouTube. So
Right.
it's up to the board. If the town board is happy with everyone here, that's up to you guys.
Awesome.
Is there any other comments tonight from the public?
There's no one else waiting to speak except for Andy.
No, I don't think so.
Regarding.
Okay. I don't know if there's any questions for Andy also. There might be, but that's probably for the board, not for the public.
Yeah, we don't usually.
So I guess we're through with the privilege of the floor. I'll give that to Mrs. Munson. Now we have the board members' responses to privilege of the floor. So we'll go once again in alphabetical order. I would caution our board members that on sensitive subjects, we don't want to appear as though we're being prejudicial. I'll just leave it at that. So, Andre, you go first.
Okay. I would just like to thank Nathaniel for coming. He was the first privilege of the floor because I did not know anything about the Community Science Institute and the sampling of water quality for our lake and our watershed. And I'm very, very happy it exists. And I would like to see us supported in any way we can.
Good. Anything else? Brown one? Any comments?
I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to share their thoughts and opinions and information with us. So thank you all.
Excellent. Doug?
I have no comment other than thanks for the input from the public.
Excellent. Joe?
I agree. I thank everybody for taking the time to speak to us, and I want to especially thank Nathaniel and the work that CSI has been doing in terms of giving us good information to work with. And I also appreciate Mike Siegler's concerns, and I think we ought to ask the planning board to look into modifying to set some setbacks that are stronger. Thank you.
I have no comments. Well, no, I don't have any comments at this time. We're all good. I'll leave this for later. So let's move on to agenda 7, which is the presentation on Bell Station lands. Finger Lakes Land Trust Executive Director Andy Zepp. Excuse me, Zepp.
Okay, admitting Andy now.
Okay.
See at the time limit, I don't know.
We're hopefully about 15 minutes max. He's giving us a presentation. Hello, Andy.
Hey, everybody.
Good to see you again. Can you limit to maybe 10 or 15 minutes? Does that work for you?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, because we may have the board may have some questions for you, so I'll leave a little bit of time for that. But unfortunately, we have a packed agenda, but I want to make sure that you have the proper time to present what you're going to present.
Great, thanks.
So go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, at CJ's suggestion, I really just wanted to provide a little bit of background on our experience with Bell Station and past stations with the town, the state of New York, and NYSEG and Auburn Grid, and then update you to tell you about some conversations going on right now. First of all, for those who aren't familiar with the property, this represents the single largest privately owned lakeshore property in all the Finger Lakes. So it's about 490 acres. It includes approximately 3,500 feet of shoreline, including a point. It includes the old rail grade, which remains in a fairly open condition as a trail. Approximately half of it is wooded and half of it is leased farmland. As I looked region-wide at shoreline property, this was quickly recognized for its resource value because of the expectation that if it was conserved, there'd be significant recreational usage. We also recognized that we didn't think we had the capacity to manage this the way we thought it should be managed. So we reached out to the New York State Department of Conservation that had a history with this property because years ago, they managed in partnership with NYSEG a cooperative hunting program through their Wildlife Bureau. So at the staff level, they had familiarity. This program was terminated when NYSEG was bought by Iberdrola, but the state identified Bell Station as a priority project in its open space plan. This is a state policy document that you can find online at the DEC website. And based on that, Ed, you may know many years ago, it's been a while now, but there were some indications of interest in a possible sale by Auburn Grid some years ago. The state asked the land trust to really act as a kind of an agent in a way for the state. The land trust acquires land that it manages on its own. We work with conservation easements on private ownerships, but also with the public sector on occasion. We do facilitate acquisitions by everyone from the Finger Lakes National Forest to the state DEC to municipalities. So that is a role we play, and that's what happened in this case. We explored a possible acquisition of the entire property by the state. It was clear at that time there was that support from the town leadership was dependent on the state making payments in lieu of taxes. And for DEC, there are two primary land categories: wildlife management areas like Connecticut Hill, south of Ithaca, and then the state forest system. And the key distinction there is that wildlife management areas typically do not pay taxes, payments in lieu of taxes, while state forests do. The other key detail is that by statute, state forests have to be 500 acres in size. So that means this is almost that scale. So we met with, had public meetings at the town level. We had met with 2 successive town boards. And then at that point, Iberdrola and NYSEG's interest in selling the property cooled. They said, we're not going to do anything right now. And over a period of several years, the Land Trust just maintained contact with folks in the real estate department of Auburn Grid. We then learned of the solar farm proposal, that there was interest in the field of Bell Station, and subsequently started a series of conversations, first with Auburn Grid to remind them of our interest and the state's interest in Bell Station and the the issue of the payment in lieu of taxes and size and so on. But then we also have started discussions with a number of representatives of the town, as well as Cayuga Operating Company, the solar folks at Auburn Grid. And what we're doing now is with exploring whether with a different configuration that might include, for example, some undeveloped natural lands at Cayuga Operating, potentially there could be a combination of a public conservation recreation area, but also utilization of some of those fields for solar. And these conversations are just in the beginning stages. And the state, for example, would have to look at the prior discussions were all based on owning that property in its entirety. And what we're looking at is, a change. But this is what the Land Trust is doing, and ideally just being kind of a facilitator in all this. So our hope is to advance these conversations, explore whether there is some kind of win-win solution we could advance with all these different stakeholders and share that with you, as it emerges. So that is, where things are at. Again, whatever we do is dependent on what the community wants to do. So this only would proceed if it's what the town of Lansing wants. But we are intrigued with the possibility to, advance this as a project that really does address conservation of one of the most significant natural areas in the region, while also, advancing renewable energy. So with that, I'm happy to, open it up for any questions.
Okay, before we do that, we'll go in alphabetical order. I guess I'm gonna go down memory lane here. It must have been, 6-7 years ago that was proposed. I was a town board member at the time, and the sticking point there was twofold. People were concerned that it would come off the tax rolls. Okay, that was what the concern was. Whether it was valid or not, that was the big stumbling block. And of course, the other one was that Iberdrola wasn't going to sell. That kind of fell through. So the concerns that I would hope we can all address and find a win-win for everybody, which is such a radical concept nowadays, that everybody gets something, as opposed to somebody getting beat into the ground to get something else, is my concern would be the tax situation there. It sounds like if it's a state forest, that would send money back to the coffers. Also the fact that there may be solar there. Also the fact that you would preserve the wooded area. Like you said, you're in the infant stage. So I guess my concern would be from a tax point first to calm those waters. Would this be valued at market value? Would it be at 100% assessment, or would there be a discount like they do with farmland when they have an exemption?
Well, it really depends. I'm presuming if there was solar on a portion of the property, it's quite likely that subdivision would happen. So that, for example, some entity that maybe it's out on grid maybe it's another interest would own the land that's hosting the solar, that portion. I do not believe that the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation would want to own that land. So I think that the valuation treatment would probably be different on both. And I don't recall the formula off the top of my head, but the state forest system has an actual formula for calculating its payment in lieu of taxes. And that's something I'd be happy to kind of dig up again and share, with the.
I'm going to circle back with you in a minute, but I want to give the other board members a chance to ask questions first. So we'll start with Andra.
The shoreline, would it stay completely undeveloped?
I think while the state forest system and the Department of Environmental Conservation has kind of general approaches to management, I think that is a question, for example, about what the community wants and what the department wants, because to date, the presumptions for any of these properties, the state develops a management plan based on a public input process. And I think that it would be dedicated to conservation and recreation, but does that mean there wouldn't be a car top boat launch or something of that nature, or modest recreational facilities? I think that really is a question still to be answered, and could be a different answer today or 30 years from now, for example.
Okay, and is it very hard to get to from the land? Because you go up the lake and you see many private docks, but then there are hundreds of steps to get to the dock from up above. And is that I have not been on the site, so I don't know.
I
should mention that the property is posted and is not open to the public by NYSEG. But from being hosted there for visits, I can tell you that the access is pretty good. There's a dead end road almost that is, the bluff isn't too high, and there's an old forest road that kind of wends its way down to where there's a pretty substantial point. So the road doesn't get to lake level, but as far as Cayuga Lake goes, I would say access is better, much better than a lot of the lake.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Bronwyn, any questions for Andy?
Not at the moment. I want to think about it more, and I will probably have follow-up questions. But I'm really excited about the possibility.
We can always circle back. Doug?
I'm fine, no questions.
Okay, Joe?
I look back at many generations ago when previous officials of the town looked at Myers Point and decided that it was important for our community to set that land aside as a recreational place. And, looking at it today, I'm very thankful that they thought that setting it aside for public use was a value, and has been a value for many generations in the future. And I look at this as another one of those turning points. This is one of the last places that we can make real public access to the lake available and preserve a really interesting and diverse natural area. And I think that's really important to me, that we look to the long term of giving the public access to the lake and preserving one of the last natural areas along the lake shore. And that's really a priority for me. And I really appreciate all the work that Andy's been doing on trying to find a way to preserve this last piece of large parcel along the lake shore. Thank you.
So for clarity, the old salt company had that land, they didn't want it. So it was Charlie Howell's vision, along with one of the Sharpsteins, I forget which one, who was the highway superintendent, it was almost his passion, that they gave it to the town of the song, basically. And Mr. Sharpstein put loads and loads of fill in there. In fact, when we put the playground together, we found a whole bunch of stuff in there because from backfill. So, in that regard, because of Mr. Sharpstein and Mr. Howell, Lansing got lucky. We keep pushing it forward. There's also a point, which is a different type of situation. But the thing I would ask Andy is that if this thing gets subdivided and gets, will you have the same ownership if you subdivide it? Because if you go under the 500 acre threshold, you may not qualify for the forest. So that's my question to Andy.
Yeah, and that's where right now, for example, we're exploring with Cayuga operating whether there's some land there that is wooded, it's not, they don't want to clear it for solar, whether there might be an actual acquisition from adjacent property owners, including Cayuga operating. But we understand that's a key question, and that's where we're reaching out to a few key neighboring landowners right now.
So here's my position on this right now. We've been dancing with this for 6-7 years. I think when we had our data center presentation, I kind of shared that vision with them. Wouldn't it be nice if you had the forest untouchable? And wouldn't it be nice if you had the farmland solar? Wouldn't it be nice to have a partnership? Because the other thing is that if you have solar, you may have a community agreement that also may help with some of the tax revenue to get over the hump of lost assessed value of land, to try to minimize the angst, so to speak, and smooth the road. So you have a whole bunch of different players talking to each other. I would advise, I'm not throwing stones at you, Andy, because you're in the middle of it, but other people to just back off and let them work it out, and maybe with you. If they want to contact the town, that's fine. But like I said, I think the town needs to be the second mouse on this, not the first. When you have some concrete things that we can address or help, I think this board would be more than happy to work with you on that. It seems like a very exciting type of project to work with. And wouldn't it be nice, like I said, to have a win-win? So that's all I'm going to say right now. We'll circle back again. Do you have more questions?
No.
Okay, Bronwyn, did I give you enough time?
I don't have any questions now, thanks.
Okay. Doug?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Joe?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to how this develops.
So the thing I would ask for you, Andy, is if we don't have it already, we have an email that maybe people can, if you could send that, if I already have it for CJ, if people have questions, can they send them to you? We can make that email available to the public. So if they do have, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy for anyone, from the board, the public, to ask any questions by email. And my goal is, with an unknown timeline, to bring forward kind of a straw man proposal that those involved, kind of the stakeholders and landowners, can support, and then for consideration by the town.
Thank you. I mean, the reason I'm asking people to be a little bit patient on this is because you had the freezing for a reason, right? Way back when people went on that land, and it was throwing gas on a fire. It just, I mean, as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And all these people had good intentions, and I applaud their enthusiasm, but unfortunately it appeared to be counterproductive. So I'd rather work through the powers to be on those, work with you and work with either it would be the representatives of the COC or Hiroshio Power or whatever they're called this week, because there's so many different names. Also, even Joel. I mean, I have reached out to Carl Taylor, the president of NICEAG, a few times, and hopefully we can connect. But once again, I'm going to divert to you to work with that team. And hopefully Iberdrola will be willing to either part with that land, sell the land, lease the land, donate the land, whatever. We're open to this. It sounds like this is our opportunity to do this. And I think it would be a very exciting project for everyone to do that. This is located, I think, on Nut Ridge, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Cedarview golf courses, you go down there, Nut Ridge actually cuts where the road is to the north boundary of that property.
Correct.
So anyways, if we have no other questions, thank you for your time, and reach out to us any way we can make this happen for you, okay?
Great. Well, thanks so much. And don't hesitate to contact me with questions, and I'll keep you posted as these conversations proceed.
Thank you. And I would advise the town board to work through CJ on this, okay? So we'll be all set. Thank you so much and good luck.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, well, that's exciting. Let's go on to the next one, which is agenda item number, this is the Lansing Community Library Report, which is in your packet. Andre, do you want to have any more comments on this? You seem to be active.
Yes. The only comment I was going to say is item number 3, where it is an online auction. It is completed and they did raise quite a bit of money. I don't know the amount. I wish I did. But it was very successful. And I'd like to thank anybody who did on the items. Because having a fundraiser in this time of COVID is a little difficult in person fundraiser. So this seemed to be an excellent idea, and also like to thank those who contributed and who got it going. And they're trying very hard to do as much as they can for the community, and there is going to be, as it says in item number 1, there's going to be in-person browsing, but by appointment starting yesterday. So it did start yesterday.
Okay. Thank you.
The next one is the Lansing Services Report,
Keep going.
which I am also a representative to. And I did attend their Zoom meeting just a couple of days ago. And I did not on the September one, but the October one. And things are going surprisingly well, considering that Travis, the manager who runs all the programs, cannot do any of the programs in the school. So everything, as it says, is being done down at Myers Park. So thank goodness for Myers Park. And now they are looking for someplace that they could possibly do after-school programs during the winter months. And a few suggestions were made. And I was wondering how much the our building over here is being used next to the town hall. I don't know if that would be acceptable, but it has to be on the school bus route.
The school bus does stop out here.
I go to the
Yeah,
library.
community center, okay.
So that's a conversation for Patrick.
That's right.
There isn't a lot of activity going on there. There is some, I think, Boy Scouts, there's a few other meetings going on top. I don't think there's anything going on at the bottom. You used to have exercise over that, that's not there. That'll be weekdays.
Yes.
Okay. That's something they clean on a regular basis, so Pat Terra would be the one to reach out to.
Okay. Then I'll tell those involved.
Perfect.
Okay, that's all.
Agenda item number 10, Mike Stigler, Tompkins County Legislative Report. Alan, are you back with us?
I am. I made it back.
Thank you. She was having some difficulty. That's why I was on my phone. I wasn't looking at the ball score. I was watching to see, and she had some difficulty there. So Houston, we don't have a problem anymore. So good. Hello, Mike.
Not for the moment.
You got a different hat on now.
I do, a different hat. So Mike Sigler, County Legislator, same address. I want to thank for having me again. I also want to thank Dominic Vecchio, he's the county's communication director. And I draw from his press releases very liberally, just like I did with Marshall.
Mike, can you speak close to the mic? I'm having trouble understanding you again. Thank you.
I will speak loud. So it's hard for me to update you on anything with COVID-19, just for the simple fact it's changing so quickly. These are all things you're reading about. And it's at the county health department website. But we did have our first death in the county. That's someone that lived in the county, I should say. And that was a 95-year-old patient. She had caught the virus and passed away. Clearly, we're very sorry that anyone would die from this. That's where we are. And we're seeing cases go up really around this county and also inside this county. There was a positive case of driving to school, as you know, Lansing, high school has now gone on virtual for a couple of weeks because of some exposures there. So all of this, we just, thing hasn't gone away. It's still here, and we still have to do our best to keep this thing at bay. Certainly, the county is doing everything it can for testing and to get people, just to be safe. So you can count on the county for that. We're working hard on that. And any questions you have, Jason and our team are ready to engage. So on another topic, Tompkins County Administrator Jason Molina, we hosted a public forum on police reform on Thursday. That was October 15th. You can still see it. It's at the Tompkins County YouTube channel. This is going to be part of a collaborative effort with policing in the city of Ithaca, because every municipality has to have a plan in place to submit to the state by April 1st, 2021. This was in response to the state executive order 203, following because of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That was earlier this year, as you know. There will be additional engagement opportunities. There will also be ways that if we do not have internet access, can you engage? Someone who really wanted to engage on this issue was Audra Benson. I want to thank her for her interest, and I want to thank you too, Andrew, for pushing me on it. When I called you and you said you hadn't contacted me, I was actually really surprised about that. I'm glad you finally did hook up with the county administrator. I think the sheriff was trying to reach you as well. Because it will, we need input from Lansing, especially for the sheriff's department. Obviously, some of the issues we're going to face is the sheriff's department are going to be different than city departments or village departments. So, certainly need our input on that. Just let's face it, there's problems in some police departments, and we want to solve those problems as best we can. On the money side of things, sales tax, just horrific, really. We were the worst county in the past couple months out of the entire state. For January 1st through October draw comparison, there was an 11% decrease this year compared to last year. Again, worse than New York State. We think we will see an improvement into November. We are hoping for that. We are still working on the budget. We're finishing our public hearing on it. We're done with that. And when it comes to taxes, at this point in the budget, for a house assessed at about $200K, we're looking at an increase of about $70. We have tried not to raise the rate. And to do that and not raise the rate, we have cut 48 positions. We've cut expenses as best we can, I think, for this year. We've also dug really deeply into savings. But that's what savings are for, right? That's why you have the fund balances, so that when it's raining, you can pull into those. And we're definitely doing that. Solid waste fee is going to increase a little bit too, but I think we've done quite a bit on the cutting of spending side. We are going to be maybe adding 2 positions. These are being voted on as climate coordinator and criminal justice coordinator. The climate coordinator, that may sound like a big job. I mean, it is, right? But the fact of the matter is this state is definitely moving towards a green energy future. And there's a lot of things coming out from the state that our county needs to know. What is the state considering? What does that mean for our county? And what should we know? And that's how I'm looking at that position. It's going to be a position, I think, right now, it's not going to be funded per se tax dollars. It's going to be funded out of tax dollars you've already paid in, and that's the fund balance, right? So we're going to pay it out of savings because we don't know how long that position is going to be needed for. And a criminal justice coordinator, that's also on the table. Something that has worked out in the past. We're getting a lot of public support for that position, so we'll see if we're going to add that back in. It's not really a matter of adding it back in, it's a matter of continuing that position. I will say CSI is here. I think they have impressed a lot of people in the county, and certainly their work over the last 2 years has been great in keeping track of some of these things. Frankly, the DEC doesn't have the resources. It's not that they don't have the resources, but they have a lot going on throughout the entire state. And I think CSI has been doing a job, but maybe just kind of right outside of the DEC's wheelhouse. But it's still important work, and we don't want to throw that 2 years worth of work away. And we'll be funding on Monday. Is what that would also do. That is an OTR, and that's an improvement for us. So congratulations, I mean, really great work for CSI is what we're happy to have on board. Also, the county, we approved Tompkins County Community College. We're going to fund them a little bit early. They're waiting on money from the state. So we are already approved their funding. We're just going to be giving it to them early so that they can carry it to the state funding comes through. I met with the city. We had finally a new human resources commissioner at the county. Her name is Ruby Pulliam. She is out of Niagara Falls, New York. We're very pleased to have her. We haven't had a human rights resources person for about, 10 months. And one of our people has been filling that position. She's very happy to go back to the administration, Lisa Holmes. I want to give her a lot of thanks for doing that job. Very difficult time. She's been really at the forefront of our COVID response. She's been dealing with human resources and she's been dealing with the regular job too. So just a lot on Lisa Holmes' plate. We were very happy to have her as our deputy, one of our deputy commissioners. Finally, Halloween is coming. People have a lot of questions about this. We did put out guidance at the legislature. You can find that out on the legislator Facebook page. Also, but keep track of it at the health department because again, we're seeing cases rise and that guidance may change. So just keep track of everything when it comes to that. And that's all I have. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions on this? Brown, any questions, comments? Brown? Did we lose you again? We'll circle back. Doug, any questions or comments?
No, thanks, Mike. Appreciate the update.
Okay. Brown, are you back?
I'm back, I think, but I don't have any questions right now.
All right, thank you. Joe, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to thank Mike for his report. Thank you.
Okay, so getting to the sales tax. Up to date, we're 15% below for our sales tax. And our projections are, this is using last year's numbers, which are about 104% of what this year budgeted, is that if we stay at the 15% for the last 4 months, it'll be roughly 183,000 decrease over that. Now, granted, 80% of that is the highway. So that would drop it down to 146,252 and change. Cricket has told us he's going to dump, he's not going to use 200,000 of his road maintenance. So that gives us a good cushion back this year. CJ, are you listening? Because I'm going to talk about planning now. Planning will be about 36,563 decrease, but they have a very healthy fund balance in theirs. They could actually go about 16 months without doing anything. So if we need to slide some over from the B fund to the DB fund, we always can do that, which is a lot. So my thought is that we're not going to go back to phase 1, hopefully. And if you have phase 2 or phase 3, the sales tax will be, I think, a little bit better. I think they're looking at a 9% decrease next year, 9 to 11. When talking to these meetings, we have every other week now, Thursday morning, and I'll have one tomorrow with Jason and with Frank and the whole crew there, and we'll talk about, see where the next projections are. So on that, we thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too. Okay. Now, the height of the evening.
Yeah, there you go.
Park and Rec report with Tara. Anything you want to add to one?
No, you guys got Pat's report. All I just wanted to say was thanks again to the Baker family, and that pavilion out there looks great, and we like using the chicken coop and everything. They just cleaned everything out and put away for the year. Then I just want to alert everybody again to keep your pets on leashes for when you're walking on the trails, because there are hunters out.
And I'll mention that comment in a minute. I'm going to swing around to it. Anna, you have any questions or comments for Owen?
No.
Okay. Brown, you have any questions or comments for Owen?
Nope, thanks, Owen.
Okay. Doug, any questions or comments?
Had a nice summer. Parks and Rec did a great job.
Excellent. Joe, any questions or comments?
No, thank you, Owen, for all the good work you've been doing. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. The comment about the hunting, we normally post for the trails.
Yep.
On town land about the hunting, right?
Yep, and
we have already.
Yep, we have.
Okay. So about Salt Point, great time down there when they had the dedication.
That's right.
I talked to Robert Reiger about this and asked him for his wish list. First thing he said was the CSI, which really isn't Salt Point. I offered 5,000 for that, and hopefully the board will accept that. We'll see what it goes tonight, which is in addition to what we can get out of fund balance. Actually, that I would like to do every year, 5,000, and that will go into our budget if the board decides on an amount to go in every year. Okay, it's all good work. The other wish list he has, I go through my notes here, is that we talked about the increased budget for the town constable. Patrick says to be able to work with that with his budget, because that way he has flexibility, his budget for that. There was the steps to lake access, including the removal of a rebar. Patrick says you could probably also do that within his budget.
Yep.
The hedge trimmer, we'll buy one of those, around $300, and we'll let South Point use it whenever they want. The general improvements, the planning and landscape, I think to the north and everything, we try to block off that area.
Yeah.
You'll work with that and try to mitigate that so they don't have any more. I think you do it with the speed bumps and other things right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And Brown, this is where you come in. The fishing pier, we talked about this earlier. We may have to go hunting for money for that and do a feasibility study, but I'll let the Friends of South Point determine what they want to do first, okay?
Okay.
All right, good. So I look forward to the positive results that you'll have talking to them, okay? So, moving on. Highway Department, there isn't any official report here, but they are scrambling, they're moving, doing a lot of good stuff. I think they're busy also with drainage districts and doing some paving amongst others. And I don't know if they had a water main break. You guys had a water break.
Yeah,
right?
we had one yesterday.
Okay, so you got yours for the year, right?
Yeah, you took care of it, found it, it's all good.
Absolutely, great. So now we're gonna move on to another highlight of the evening, CJ. And maybe,
Hello.
hi, maybe you can tell us when you have a moment about the ARC grant too. That was very nice. But go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so I don't know if there's specific questions about the report. I'm happy to answer them. I'd just like to follow up with a few key pieces that may not have been elaborated on. One of them is that the county county planning is working on some short-term rental monitoring and analytics. And to that end, they've released a request for proposal, and they've asked me and a couple other planners throughout the county to review those proposals as they come in. I've shared those with the short-term rentals kind of committee, I guess you could call it, of the planning board, just a few people who are meeting and discussing about that. And so we'll see kind of what comes out from that. I know that that's been a concern. And so I think it's interesting to see the county helping out there. And so I'll keep you posted. Another significant item of note is that next Tuesday, the consultants, MJ Engineering, for the Parks, Recreation and Trails Master Plan, will be having a kickoff meeting with the committee. So that's this coming Tuesday, October 27th at 4:30 p.m., just as it's starting to get dark. So we wanted to try to get that in before the end of the season there. So stay tuned on what comes out of that. I'd just like to give a shout out to former town board member Katrina Binkowitz for giving me a huge treasure trove of information that we're passing on to the consultants so that they can really have a really good inventory of what people have been talking about for many years regarding parks and trails and pathways and all of it for a long time. So I think that's really wonderful to have that all in one place, and I'm really delighted that they'll be working on that. Last but not least, as the Office of Renewable Energy Siting has released their draft regulations as of, I guess, just a few weeks ago. This is about 140-ish pages of draft regulations on the siting of large-scale renewable energy projects. To that end, I recently, just a few hours ago, met with a few members of the planning board, as well as County Planner Darby Kiley and Cornell Cooperative Extension's Terry Carroll, who are a wealth of knowledge about these projects and also are really chipping in to help review the regulations. And I'm asking anyone who has comments on these. I know that there's a lot of concern about large-scale solar projects particularly as there's at least 2 that we know of, and possibly even a third that might be coming down the pike to looking to site in the town of Lansing. And as you know, there's a lot of preemption issues. So anyone who's interested in commenting on this, I'm going to kick it to the Conservation Advisory Council for their review, as there's a lot of environmental elements in it. And the planning board is also looking at these regulations very carefully to see what ways could we improve the local law if as needed. What are ways that we can actually comment and help make the draft regulations at the state level better. So that's really what we're trying to concentrate on our efforts on right now, is those comments on the first subpart are due on November 16th. So we're really doubling down on making sure we're taking a really good look at that. And there's a great group you kind of working on this collaboratively. But that said, we definitely want more feedback from anyone. And if anyone wants a copy of those, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will email them to you right away. And I think that's the highlights for right now.
Okay, Andrew, any questions for CJ?
No, but I appreciate all the work you're doing. I think your job is just incredibly confusing, but you do it absolutely fantastic.
Excellent. Bronwyn, any questions or comments for CJ?
2 things. One is agreeing with Andrea. Thank you for everything, and helping to explain things in really understandable ways too. And I was just wondering if we could have a little more information about the kind of where we stand with the overlay districts. I see that what is it? Scope and schedule of work is forthcoming, but I'm just kind of wondering where things are now, what forthcoming means, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they've been forthcoming like forever.
Yeah,
So
nothing else going on. So,
well, I think it's a great question that dovetails with. So, you know, when I first started with the town, I know that environmental protection districts are definitely a priority. And so one of the things that we wanted to do to make sure there was a foundational basis for that was to do the natural resources inventory. I'm happy to report that the Conservation Advisory Council is in the process of wrapping that up and getting hopefully a draft to you. I'm hoping November for you to be able to take a look at the draft, because Cornell Cooperative Extension, again, Terry Carroll, I can't say enough wonderful things about him, but he really helped bring that project together. And essentially it's an inventory of all the town's natural resources and really serves as a foundational basis for, well, you know, what do we really want to think about? And one of the CAC members, Karen Edelstein, has taken it upon herself essentially to start scoping out the view shed part of the project, which actually will come in extremely helpful for both the environmental protection overlay districts, as well as questions about siting of the large scale solar projects. So like everything, we try to get multiple deliverables out of the same thing. And so that's kind of the angle we're coming at there. Some of them will be easier to work with, but that's the thing I see CAC working on next, is helping me refine the text, define the areas where they want the overlay districts to apply to, and then finally kick that onto planning board and town board. So hopefully very soon, but I can certainly give you the details of what I think it's already really scoped out, but in terms of the timeline, we're just kind of waiting on some other things to catch up. And I really wanted them to prioritize getting the NRI done, as well as the Office of Renewable Energy siting rules, because the state is, the bus is going to leave, you know, like they are on their own timeline, they're on their own timetable. And so we really wanted them to, you know, focus on that. I know it's displaced this other piece, which I understand is important, but it's not forgotten.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Bronwyn?
Nope.
Outstanding. Doug?
DJ, thanks for all your hard work. Make things very clear, very easy to follow. I really have no other comment than that. I know you're getting overworked. So. Well, you seem to be. Anyway, thanks again.
Great. Joe, okay, Joe, any questions or comments?
No, I just want to appreciate all the work that CJ is doing in her office. I know it's been hard with the changing in staff and the pandemic, making everything via Zoom calls, but I appreciate all the work she's been doing and the clear information she keeps feeding us. Thank you.
So one of the things I'll point out to you in the budget, the proposed budget, is there, I think there's a $15,000 drop in the legal fees for the planning board, and that's all on CJ. Because she's on board, they just cut that by 15 grand. So keep that in mind, how cost effective she is. And we'll try to get you some help there. If possible, I know you have something in your consulting fee or your line also for this budget coming up, and hopefully it goes through. I think we're in good shape. The ARC grant, whatever, is huge. I think it's going to hopefully help the data center and everyone along the lines. I'm not going to dwell on the small minor stuff because anybody can be picky. I just embrace this, and this was a very well thought out and team effort from all the different people from the county and from us and everyone else. So I'm just delighted that that this has gone through. I look forward to as we move forward on that. And we'll talk about the broadband committee a little bit later. That's all I have on that right now.
I would just like to say, there's no way I could do all of this without the help from Heather. Our new clerk is just tremendous, and we're really fortunate to have her. And of course, Lynn, who has, we're at our way past our building permits for last year, which is incredible when you think that we weren't even in the office issuing many permits for a number of almost months. So I just really want to give a huge shout out to them. None of this would be possible without them. So thank you. And Guy.
Item, let's see, agenda 14, engineers report, Dave Herrick. There's nothing this month's report. And item, agenda 15, agriculture committee report from county, nothing. I'll go on to the next consent agenda. I have a question first, and this is for the board, also for Guy. This almost seems like a chicken and an egg problem, where item 17, which is the resolution memorializing changes to tentative budget, authorizing preparation and filing of preliminary budget, and have our discussion first, because in the consent agenda, we already override the override tax cap. And is that premature on these things? I don't want to put one in front of the other.
It's setting a public hearing. It's not overriding tax.
Thank you. Thank you. Then we're good then. Then move on to the consent agenda. You're awesome, you know that? So having said that, I guess we'll go to our consent agenda. And of course,
I'll move the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Andrew Benson seconds it. Mrs. Munson?
Well.
Oh, that's right. We have to read it.
Usually some people read the title so they know what they're voting on.
I agree. I always struggle with that. So anyways, let's go with the first one. Andre, you want to read the first one?
Yes. Resolution accepting the 2019 year and independent outside financial report and audit of town operations, procedures, funds, cash handling procedures, and accounts.
Okay, Bronwyn, you want to do resolution B?
Resolution scheduling public hearing upon proposed local law number 5 of 2020, a local law to repeal local law number 4 of 2020 and reinstate the tax cap limits of general municipal law section 3-C.
Excellent. Doug, will you do C, please?
Yes, resolution scheduling a public hearing for special districts proposed in the 2021 budgets.
Okay. Joe, will you do D, please?
Resolution scheduling public hearing for the town of Lansing preliminary budget for 2021.
Okay, thank you. E is resolution approving the 2020 and 2021 amendments to the municipal cooperative agreement for the Greater Tompkins County Municipal Health Insurance Consortium. Andre, you going to do F?
Resolution authorizing special use permit for adaptive reuse of 1004 Auburn Road, tax parcel number 8.0 '1-29. It's Private Club by Savage Club of Ithaca.
Brown, will you do G, please?
Resolution authorizing and approving Barron outside user agreement.
Doug, will you do H, please?
Resolution approving audit and budget modifications and supervisor's report.
There's no I. Yes, right?
No I in team.
No I in team. I don't see anything else for the consent agenda. I guess, is there any discussion? Guess not. We don't do that for the consent agenda. Mrs. Munson?
Okay, I guess I should keep this a little closer. All right, so the consent agenda resolutions number 130 to 137. Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Dake,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losey,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay. Agenda item 17. Now it's resolution memorializing changes to tentative budget and authorizing preparation and filing of preliminary budget.
I'll move it.
I'll second it. Now, how about some discussion? You saw the increases, I think in the resolution, the proposed changes on page 14. We've added some, we decreased some. We've added some fund balance.
What is the assessment amount from Tompkins County reduced by 119,800? Assessment of what?
Of all properties. It's a moving target.
Of all properties in the town or the properties? we
In
own?
Tompkins County, or excuse me, in the town. So your assessed value, for instance, the power plant went down 18 million. So that would probably assessed value, and it actually might change again. We don't know. Maybe go up, maybe go down. Charmaine, are you with us?
But that's for the whole town, not just
Yes, I am. Hi.
Yes.
piece of property that the town owns, no.
Yes, it's town, not the town owns, but that's in the town
Okay,
and the village also. So they pay town tax.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Charmaine, question was about the increase of the decrease of the assessment.
Right.
Did I pretty well get that right?
Yes, you did.
Not bad for an old dog. Good, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Brown?
I would like to put in here or in the budget or wherever it belongs, the information about the money to CSI that you were talking about earlier.
That'll be in, I think that if any, let me just go generic on this. Any adjustments we make will be put in this resolution, right, Mrs. Munson?
They'll be put in, any adjustments you make before you vote on it tonight.
Yes.
Will be put in this, and then your vote will include that.
Yes, so there'll be a public document to be documented, okay?
Okay, then, yeah, I want to be sure we get that adjustment in there then.
Okay, thank you. Doug?
So what is the adjustment, so what is that adjustment
Well,
specifically?
what is adjustment? I guess you want to propose something, Brown?
Yeah.
Yes, propose that we give, what was it, 7,000 to CSI?
Yes, I was hoping for 5, but I think I'm gonna get outnumbered on this one. So how's the rest of the board feel about this? You're good, Brown.
I support that.
7 or 5?
7.
Okay, keep in mind, it's gonna be every year.
I know.
It always could change next year. Okay, what would you want, Brett?
I would support the 7.
All right, we'll go with 7, all right? That's not my hill to die on. All right, so we'll put in there 7,000, which means we'll take 7,000 out of fund balance more on that, so it's gonna bump that up. From, let's see where it is here.
111.5.
Yep. Yes, so we're gonna add that to it, okay.
What did Charmaine say?
Charmaine, you said adding 7,000 to the fund balance?
The fund balance use right now for general A is the 111.5, which is in number 4.
So we'll increase that to 118.5.
Okay, so far. Okay,
Right.
hopefully, okay, so far. Okay. Anything else, Bronwyn?
That's all right now.
Okay. Doug?
I have no changes.
Okay. Joe?
I would just like at our next meeting to have someone from Highway come and talk to us about how next year is going to be. I think we're spending down quite a bit of fund balance to keep the budget at normal levels. And I know that we're cutting back on work, and I just think we ought to have a board discussion about that. So if we could, at our next meeting, have Cricket come and talk to us about how the highway budget's working and what he perceives is going to happen next year if we have a poor sales tax year.
Okay, we'll ask either our highway superintendent or the deputy, okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Good. Anything else, Joe?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Whew, I got up easy tonight. Good. That's the only one I had. Yeah, got your 7, looks like.
It's not past yet.
You may get your 7 this year.
Just say.
Hopefully get your 7 this year on that. The only question I have for Nathaniel is this concentrated more in Lansing or is it generically all over Cuba Lake?
It's all over Cayuga Lake that we work with volunteers from the community. The volunteers from the town of Lansing were one of our first groups to start monitoring water quality in 2006. And they began monitoring Salmon Creek and the shoreline of Salt Point back in 2006. Salmon Creek being one of the largest watersheds that contributes to Cayuga Lake.
The reason I'm saying this is because many years ago, my father was on this board and they put a water line up into Leatherville because of the poor water quality. I'm concerned about the affluent, not so much from the farmers. I'm concerned about the affluent that's coming from Leatherville itself. I'm wondering if those septic systems are failing. I'm wondering if those septic systems need to be replaced or if they need to have a sewer put in there or something. So I'm just planting seeds for you, okay? And hopefully you'll have 7,000 reasons to think about this and hopefully you'll do it, okay? At some point, sooner than later. But I'm very concerned about the affluent that comes out of there into Cuba Lake for a variety of reasons. And since I'm the one that seems to be the advocate for water lines, I think there's 3, almost 4. Hopefully there'll be 3 soon, within 4 years. I'm very concerned about that, especially when I'm asking people to use public water. So I'm asking you, if you maybe want to just ask the powers to be, okay?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other changes? I think we'll be under the tax cap again, which is nice. I don't think the rate's going to nudge that much. Is it, Charmaine?
No, it shouldn't move hardly at all.
Okay. Good. Well, now that we've had all that discussion, Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson.
Yes.
Doug Day.
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay. Now, item 18. Resolution supporting an over-target request for Tompkins County to undertake a broadband planning study and pledging $5,000 in support.
I move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Let Bronwyn second.
Okay, Brown, you second it. Any further discussion? I do, if no one else does. First of all, I was not made aware that Anna Kellis was asking this until I talked to her today. So if there can be in the future some better communication about that, because when I looked at the original documents, nothing was mentioned about 5,000. I sent you all those documents. So it would be, this would probably be under the consent agenda if I had that communication ahead of time. I look forward to working with her on this, and it's a good idea. If anyone thinks I'm not for broadband, I'm the one who asked you to be on the broadband committee and create it. And like I said, through the ARC grant, we're doing the best we can. This is not my concern, but this is something that I already talked to Brown about. I don't want this to take the place of the work of the broadband committee to find out where the dead spots are and where there isn't any internet. I gave you that contact number for Spectrum. Because Brown was telling me that they haven't returned your phone call. If you want me to interject again, I will, and I will give them a call and talk to her about this to get that going. But that's critical that we don't wait for this survey to come out for us to make our next move as far as that goes. I'm not criticizing, this is a conversation, but I strongly urge that we double down on our efforts to get as much information as we can for the town of Lansing, because I don't know when this survey will be done. You're talking, what, at least one county, maybe more on that? And I think it's all good work, but I think we need to get in front of this also. So that's all the comments I have for right then. And if there are none, if anyone else wants to speak, Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Dake,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Ed Levine.
Yes. Now, this will come out of fund balance this year, or when they ask for it, okay? It won't be a budget item. I try to do budget items only when there's usually an annual fee possible, okay? Except for certain things like sliding doors.
Ed, can I just comment quickly that the broadband committee is absolutely going to keep moving forward. And one of the things it's looking at real closely is what we can do short term to get people online one way or another. So we're not going to step back just because of this county project. We're going to keep moving forward and hope that this helps move us forward faster.
Good, I'm counting on you. So thank you, appreciate it. Board member reports. Andra?
Wait,
Oh, what?
there's another one right
Did I miss one? I don't think
here.
so.
19.
Did I miss 19?
Yeah.
I did, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I will move.
Well,
Okay, Andra, go ahead.
Motion authorizing town supervisor to execute letter to Tompkins County Area Development supporting Lansing Market's request that the IDA extend the current filing exemption for an additional 4 years.
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
I would like to table it so we can consult our attorney about possible ramifications.
All right, so let me give you some background here, which might relieve your angst. When they first came for a pilot, we had to be in support of them.
Mhm.
We've already started that establishment way back when. So there already is a precedent to that. Guy, is that true?
The town had previously approved the pilot and had previously approved this area as well as other areas relative to the town center to be Empire zones, specifically to try to promote businesses in that area. So yes, that's accurate.
I mean, it is in an IDA area. It is one of those things that is encouraged for pilots to begin with. We already have a track record of doing that. So I think we're just being consistent. We're not deviating from anything else from that.
I would still like an opportunity to consult our attorney in executive session before we move forward on this, please.
Okay.
Does it fit one of these criteria?
I don't think it'd be an executive session. I think it's something that we want to look for his advice.
It would be a closed session for confidential legal advice, not an executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, technically distinct, but the result's the same.
Okay, we have some executive session to do perhaps later, but do we want to go in closed session now?
I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Okay. I'll move that we go into closed session now. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, Joe seconds it.
Wait. Can you hang on just 1 second? I didn't know you were going to do that.
I neither. This thing takes on life of its own.
Okay, so that's it. Okay, who made that motion?
Who Ed did and Joe seconded.
Yep.
Ed, Joe. And Doug recused himself.
Right.
So am I just to step out or what?
No, just mute yourself. I mean, you can, well,
No, he should probably get out.
if he recuses himself, if it was here, he'd simply walk into the seat and wait.
Yeah, there's no hard and fast rules about what happens in a recusal, whether it's a conflict situation, an ethical situation, or anything like that. But the generally consistent advice from all sources is that the person who is recusing themselves would not only not participate in the discussion or deliberation, but they would quote unquote leave the table and go to the back of the room, so to speak, because sometimes their mere presence can be an influence, and as well, nonverbal communication is often very effective at communicating opinions. Now, with that said, there's no hard and fast rule that you have to leave the table, and here there's no table to leave. So I leave it to the board to decide how to do that. Maybe just staying mute or.
So if I may suggest, Doug, I will text you when you want to come back in. So just sit by your phone, I'll text you, okay?
All right, good enough.
All right. Thank you. I don't mean to be rude, but
Yeah, you have to leave.
you have to leave.
We could put him in the waiting room too.
For your support, we greatly appreciate it.
No, we look forward to the positive results that are going to happen from this, my friend, okay?
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so I need to call a vote still on this, just so you know,
Yes.
we didn't do that.
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor, and you're gonna have to tell me, because on there, who says yes.
Okay.
So all in favor going into closed session?
I got thumbs up. I got Brahman thumbs up, Joe thumbs up.
And no opposed,
No
okay.
opposed. Now does Owen have to leave also?